is LBC. From Global, leading Britain's conversation.
As the 29th of March looms ever closer, the Westminster Village is obsessed with whether Theresa May can get her deal over the line or whether, in fact, come the 29th, Britain will crash out with no deal. But for industries like the pharmaceutical industry, it may already be too late. I'm here in a warehouse in Hatfield, just north of London, belonging to Eisai, a major Japanese pharmaceutical company. As you can see around me, already they've begun stockpiling ingredients, components and derivatives for up to 6 months' supply of medicine.
On the edge there, sorry, yes.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Matthew Thompson from LBC. I'm just wondering to what extent this crisis is to some extent of your own making, in the sense that it's a failure of expectation management and not bringing people like the DUP and hardliners within your own party along with you. Obviously, they weren't going to like what was in this deal. Should you not have brought them on board a little bit more quickly?
Look, we have been working on this deal and negotiating on this deal. There have been various staging posts where we've made clear to people what the approach that we're taking.
What are the punishments for defying Parliament?
Well, that's an interesting one. So last night we discussed the last humble address, which was used to get Geoffrey Cox, the then Attorney General, to publish legal advice on the withdrawal agreement. And they didn't do that. And then there was a vote fairly quickly afterwards, last December, to hold the government in contempt of Parliament. It's the first time that's ever happened. There was a big brouhaha. They then eventually turned around and they did publish the documents. The first thing to say about that is Parliament's prorogued, so there's no Parliament to vote on contempt.
At the moment.
At the moment.
At the moment, yeah.
Until it comes back. The second thing to say is it's not entirely clear what the punishment is for being in contempt of Parliament. Now, there are old laws. Parliament used to have the ability to imprison people. I go back as far as 1666 was the last time they fined anyone for being in contempt. But in 1880, someone was imprisoned in the clock tower for being in contempt of Parliament. Now, I don't think Boris Johnson is about to be locked in the clock tower by Dominic Grieve.
He'd like to, I'm sure.
We'll try to persuade Labour MPs, all of them, to support the party's position on this, which is to prevent a no-deal exit and is to.
But if they don't, will you punish them? Will there be consequences?
I don't go through life threatening people. I go through life trying to persuade people, and I will ask them to recognise the decision we took.
But if you fail to persuade them, but if you fail to persuade them,
why are all the media so obsessed with punishment all the time?
Persuasion is an option, but presumably that might fail. And if it fails, I'm wondering, is there consequences if you fail to persuade?
Persuasion is more powerful than punishment. And I will talk to Labour MPs, ask them to vote along with the party, as I would ask other people to recognise the dangers of what Boris Johnson is proposing. This is a danger of crashing out, where we lose our rights and lose our access to trade.
You don't rule out losing the whip.
You're obsessed with this, aren't you?
I'm just interested.
No,
because
you're not interested.
Persuasion, it's perfectly possible, Mr. Corbyn, that you're a very persuasive man, but persuasion might fail. And so I'm simply wondering that if you fail to persuade them, what's the consequence?
I will ask Labour MPs to recognise that the party came to a decision at our party conference after a lot of debate as to how we'd approach Brexit. The whole party united around that, and I would ask them all to respect that.
But nonetheless, what they're trying to do is they're trying to paint Labour as a sort of moderate alternative. They're saying the Tories are off one direction, wanting a no deal, and the Lib Dems are off the other direction, saying they'll revoke Article 50, and we're ploughing a furrow down the middle, and we're going to sort of put the decision to the people, etc., etc. The problem is with that strategists are saying you risk appealing to neither Remainers nor Leavers on the central question of the age, and you get attacked from both sides, and you bleed seats and votes both to the Liberal Democrats and to the Conservatives.
What would the rationale be if I was ever permitted to speak to Jeremy Corbyn? I would ask him, why don't you just go all out for a referendum?
Well, what he, first of all...
Isn't it amazing? I have to ask Matthew Thompson to play the role of Jeremy Corbyn.
First of all, Jeremy Corbyn wants to be in government,
yes,
right? And that has always been his priority. And even if you remember the last election, we were just talking about with Theresa May, what Labour tried to do was take the conversation away from Brexit, because they have all these other things and, society changing things that they want to do. And so it's it's a little bit of what they call in sport or in rugby, given the World Cup's on at the moment, white line fever. You know, you get there into the try line, you want to push to it, you want to get, you see the opportunity for a go at number 10 and you want it. But then there are lots of people within the Labour Party, you know, figures as prominent as John McDonnell, as Emily Thornberry, as Tom Watson, starting to warn now that maybe the wisdom of this general election push isn't so wise, and the sensible thing to do is to settle a single issue, which is Brexit, with a single issue question, which is a referendum. Don't take Stephen Barclay's word for it, though, Eddie. Here I have in front of me the impact assessment that the government published with the withdrawal agreement bill only this week. And it says, in relation to east-west goods, so GB to Northern Ireland, goods moving from Great Britain to Northern Ireland will be required to complete both import declarations and entry summary declarations because the UK will be applying the EU's Union Customs Code in Northern Ireland. Then there are those who say, aha, but what Boris Johnson really said was Northern Ireland to GB and there won't be checks there. Let me read you another paragraph. West-east. Some practical information will need to be provided electronically on the movement of goods from west to east. That's presumably what Stephen Barclay was referring to in that Select Committee hearing. And then what's happened today is after Prime Minister's questions, there's often a briefing from Prime Minister's spokesman who seems to be getting into now a semantic argument with journalists about whether these checks are really checks or, in the spokesperson's terms, minimal administrative processes. But all I would say to that, Eddie, is if it looks like a cheque and it quacks like a cheque, then it's probably a cheque. And unionists in Northern Ireland can see that fairly plainly.